position is Gary Pavitt. Just loved the facial expression when Verena said, "You must be used to this weather." Well, Gary can drive in wet or dry weather conditions. Former champion, of course, and hasn't had necessarily the best of luck in last few seasons, but we know just what a quality driver he is. And as he said when he was speaking to Verena, just absolutely nailed the perfect lap towards the end of the session that gave him pole position by a huge margin. It's 141.443, 6/10 ahead of Robert Wickens. In the Drivers' Championship, then, it's a slender lead for Marco Wittmann over Jamie Green. Now, Jamie Green is starting from P10. Marco Wittmann is starting from P20, so the points table may look very different towards conclusion of this race. Only time will tell. We're being told it's going to start behind the safety car as we look at car number 11. That car driven by Marco Wittmann, the points leader. Jens Marquardt is BMW's boss, and there you can see him with Verena.
We are here in the pouring rain. Now Jens Marquardt, the best BMW, is P6 and P8, and the leader of the championship, Marco Wittmann, is in P20. So that looks like a very tough race for you. What are you hoping for? Changing weather conditions or a little miracle?
Both, probably. Yeah, it's definitely a job for us here to do today, but hey, at the end of the day, that's what racing is about. Conditions are the same for everybody, and anything can happen in the rain now, so we'll just have to see. We'll keep focused and try our best.
You do that. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Always spins are positive as we look at the safety car ahead of the car of Gary Pavitt and Robert Wickens. See the clock on the gantry counting down before the race gets underway, and the race is going to get underway behind the safety car because of the weather conditions. It's not torrential rain, but it's certainly fairly consistent drizzle at the moment. And as I mentioned earlier, in the qualifying session, which was just a couple of hours ago, there were drivers were certainly saying that it was drying out, and many chose to go on slicks for the final part of qualifying. Didn't pay off because Gary Pavitt stayed on wets, to the best of my knowledge, throughout the session and set the fastest lap, that 141.443, which was 6/10 ahead of Robert Wickens. So back of the pack there, as you can see, just off the back of that left-hander, which is turn 13, the final turn on this it's a challenging track, 3.931 kilometers. Just 15 seconds away from effectively the race starting behind the safety car, as you heard on team radio. There'll be no formation lap. The race will have deemed to start as the safety car pulls away, which it will do in 2 seconds from now. Actually a bit ahead of it, to be honest, but we are away and racing effectively. This is DTM. We're live from the Moscow Raceway for race number 11 in season 2016 in torrid, wet weather conditions here. Now the plan will be for the safety car to lead the cars away and to gradually increase speed until the drivers really have got the measure of this rain-soaked track. Where Gary Pavitt has a huge, huge advantage is, of course, that he's not going to be suffering any spray from cars ahead of him once the safety car does come in. No knowledge of how many laps. So no knowledge of how long the safety car will stay out. There's Maxime Martin, the all-yellow BMW of Timo Glock. New to DTM this weekend is Felix Rosenqvist. We just saw his number 88 Mercedes-Benz go through. He's replacing Esteban Ocon, who's Formula One bound. And Felix Rosenqvist, who's been Mercedes-Benz official reserve DTM driver, as we look at Marco Wittmann, the points leader. Felix Rosenqvist, the current FIA Formula 3 European champion, has been did some GT racing, also Indy Lights as well. His duties as DTM reserve driver will now The opportunity with Esteban moving into Formula One has come for Felix Rosenqvist to make his debut as a DTM driver, and it has to be said, he's qualifying this morning to put that number 88 Mercedes-Benz on P9 in his first DTM grid. It's a mighty, mighty impressive performance. We'll see how he does in the race as the cars all snaking their way around the circuit. There it is, 3.931 kilometers. Lap record with Miguel Molina back in 2014, a 1:32.411. Certainly not going to be troubled today, I'm afraid, in these conditions. So up the long straight towards turn number 13, where they turn in now. Air temperature is just 19 degrees, track temperature is almost the same. As the cars roar past our commentary position, you would not believe just how much spray is being kicked up from behind those cars. Really difficult racing conditions, but these were among the best drivers in the world in DTM. No question about that. It's interesting to watch Augusto Farfus go through turn 13 there, where he really hugged the curbs. The approach to and the execution of turn 13 has proved to be one of the overtaking places here at the Moscow Raceway, designed of course by Hermann Tilke. And DTM been coming here since 2013. On board with our points leader Marco Wittmann then, who starting from P20 has got a great deal of work to do to even get himself into the points, make up some 10 places. And as Jens Marquardt from BMW was saying, it's not going to be easy behind the safety car. So splitter cam from Paul di Resta first of all. Let's go inside the car with Paul di Resta now. There, the eyes of focus and closed for a moment to wipe away some of the water Gary Paffett that we saw just then. Timo Glock. As we do our round of onboard, so many different and brilliant camera positions to be able to bring you during the course of our DTM races. No word yet on when the safety car is going to deem it time to come in. So back on board with Timo Glock then as the cars weave from side to side to try and generate some heat into the wet weather tyres. Directly opposite our commentary booth is the starters rostrum, and I can't even see a green flag being unfurled yet. Literally the moment I can bring that news to you. Lights still flashing plenty atop the safety car. So as they commence another lap behind it. Machine of Timo Glock going from P8, the former Formula One star, and of course pole position P1 with Gary Paffett, who whilst done an awful lot of Formula One work, never actually made it onto the Formula One grid, which is a shame in so many respects because an undoubted racing talent. So Paffett Wickens, then it's di Resta, and should make mention of the fact that it's the best qualifying from Maximilian Goertz to put that car P4. Brilliant qualifying effort from Maximilian Goertz, former GT Masters champion who came into DTM a couple of years ago now. DTM is one of those categories where I think you're just going to fall into it and be a winner, then you're very much mistaken. These are extremely difficult cars to nail, and the truth is that it's so very close between all of the drivers. Right, confirmation on screen then. Safety car is coming in this lap, so we will get at least 30 minutes of racing proper. A huge advantage Gary Paffett has, of course, is he's got 3 wingmen behind him, hasn't he? In terms of manufacturer support. Robert Wickens, Paul di Resta and Maximilian Goertz before we get to the best of the Audis. Matthias Ekström running in P5, then it's the best of the BMWs with Maxime Martin, former victor here at the Moscow Raceway, going from P6. So lights are out on the safety car. That will sprint uphill now and will peel off, and it's down to Gary Paffett to back them all up as he should so desire, and then the race will be on. Look at the spray coming off the Gary Paffett car. You can hardly see anything as he sprints now towards turn 13, the final turn on this 3.9 kilometer circuit. And lights go green. And it's Paffett from Wickens, di Resta, Maximilian Goertz. Then it's Ekström, Martin, Scheider, Glock. But we are racing proper now as Mercedes just roar up the road and leave everyone else in the spray-sodden wake. So Robert Wickens is already right on the back of Gary. And Robert Wickens goes through as Robert Wickens, who of course is P4 in the championship. We're on board with Timo Glock, and there is Paffett then. See the cars tiptoeing through each and every one of the turns as they try and explore the limits of adhesion in these torrid conditions here. But it's Robert Wickens that is the race leader from Gary Paffett P2. Then it's Paul di Resta and Maximilian Goertz before we see Matthias Ekström and Maxime Martin and Timo Scheider, Glock, and then it's Felix Rosenqvist running in P9. So Robert Wickens then, P1. Paffett P2. Still 4 strong Mercedes sweep at the front of the pack. It's where and when anyone is going to be brave enough to try and make a move. Well, Jamie Green just taken a brief look at the Felix Rosenqvist car. We're on board with Eduardo Mortara, who's running behind Jamie Green in P11. Up that long straight heading into turn number 13 there. You can just see the Jamie Green car on the left-hand side. Green goes to the outside. Now Eduardo Mortara to the inside. Is he going to be able to carry enough momentum to go through? And Felix Rosenqvist and Timo Glock side by side. Well, Rosenqvist means business here. Car getting very skittish under braking. Glock gets sideways. They both control it. And then Mortara did make it work on Jamie Green. So we're on board with Timo Glock now. Conditions absolutely treacherous out there. Just the minute you put the power on, the back end of the car just breaks loose and has to be controlled with opposite lock. So Felix Rosenqvist then is the current FIA Formula 3 European champion and has been DTM reserve driver all season long for Mercedes-Benz. Gets his race break and makes his debut here in the Moscow Raceway and is running in P8 with Timo Glock, Eduardo Mortara and Jamie Green very sideways over the painted curbs there. Beautifully controlled though as he managed to hold on to it. On board with Timo Glock, you can see the very different lines that are being taken here by various drivers just to try and find some grip out there, and it looked like Glock was being mugged there by Eduardo Mortara. Not quite. It's the battle that is going on for P9 at the moment between Timo Glock. We're on board with Eduardo Mortara now. That's just how the back end of the car snaps away. Visibility is virtually zero for these drivers. Mortara with superior pace. Is he going to be able to make it stick? Glock's got the inside for turn 13. Mortara might be able to carry just a smidge more momentum. Side by side as they head down towards turn number 1 now. That was a brilliantly executed overtake by Eduardo Mortara. There is Gary Paffett, Stoik in P2, but up the road to the tune of 4.1 seconds is Rob Wickens. Extraordinary pace and ability he's got as Matthias Ekström goes out wide. Maxime Martin very nearly managing to claim that place, and he's going to have another go here if he can dive up the inside, but he's not quite close enough to be able to do so. So Matthias Ekström is under some pressure from Maxime Martin, that's for sure, for P5 at the moment. So plenty of action going on, but all credit and respect to these drivers for being able to find their way around this circuit with so much spray being kicked up by the drivers ahead and the cars ahead. Visibility is torrid, absolutely torrid. The one, of course, who has got the huge advantage is Robert Wickens, who is 4 seconds up the road. And in fairness, being 4 seconds up the road means that Gary Paffett is not being affected by spray either. Just looking at Robert Wickens' last lap time, a 1:51.781. Now compare that to Gary Paffett, 1:53.559. So this was Mortara's overtake on Jamie Green then. And this was the move of the race so far, in my opinion, as Mortara just drove around the outside of Timo Glock. Glock hugged the inside going into turn number 1, but meant the angle was greater. Mortara was able to carry just a little bit more momentum, and it was a fine overtake. There is Robert Wickens. And there is Jamie Green battling there with Timo Glock. Really are having to just nurse the car, not only under acceleration, but also under braking as well. Onboard shot showing you just how Timo is having to fight with the steering wheel, as once the power is applied, the back end of the car just sticks out. Right, here's Eduardo Mortara on Felix Rosenqvist now. And, well, up the inside of Felix Rosenqvist, the door was left open. That's going to be fairly easy for Edo Mortara to take advantage of that. He does so. So Mortara is up to P8 now. Seemingly liking these conditions, using the left foot to brake. Whether you pick that up, but here comes Jamie Green on Felix Rosenqvist now. And Jamie Green to the inside. Felix Rosenqvist got the right line for the next turn, though. So is able to deny briefly, but now this long uphill run towards turn number 13, where you can see through being on board, Jamie Green's visibility is absolutely zero. To pull out of the toe from the car of Felix Rosenqvist just so he can see, but Green is going to dive to the inside here. Rosenqvist should be able to carry a little bit more speed through. Indeed he does. Means that Jamie Green on this occasion is denied, but will he have another go going into turn number 1? We're on board with him. Certainly tighter through turn number 1 than Rosenqvist was, but at the moment is still being denied by the Mercedes driver making his DTM debut, who is ahead of him in P9. So the rest of the pack, we return to this battle that continues to rage here as the rain equally continues to come down. And now, having got past Gary Paffett, Paul di Resta has moved himself up to P2 whilst we were watching that intriguing battle between Jamie Green and Felix Rosenqvist, and that's how Paul di Resta did it. So that in replay then of the overtake, and we can see it from here. Well, Gary, to be fair, didn't make that very difficult for Paul di Resta, did he? Right, here comes our race leader, who now, please don't think I'm joking when I tell you this, last time around was 9.1 seconds to the good. 9.1. Comes Paul di Resta in P2, and you can just see to the right of the track is Gary Paffett, who's trying to keep out of the almost wash that's coming off the back of the Paul di Resta car for P3. Maximilian Goertz is still able to hold Matthias Ekström at bay, partly because Matthias Ekström is having to just be conscious of the fact that he's got Maxime Martin right on his tail as well. There's di Resta, there's Paffett. Then we see Maximilian Goertz, who's just doing a great job here for the Mercedes brand by keeping everyone else at bay. After saying that, well, he is being slow. Really, really impressive couple of overtakes that we've seen from Edo Mortara, though. And now that he's been released from the clutches of Felix Rosenqvist, he's up the road. But this man is further up the road than anybody else. Some time before you see Paul di Resta slithering and sliding his way through that turn. Ekström, for the moment, has seen off the challenge from Maxime Martin, and is just beginning to close in on Maximilian Goertz a little bit. Maximilian Goertz is running in P4, Matthias Ekström running in P5. The Timo Scheider car then running P7, and Edoardo Mortara getting ever closer to Timo Scheider. Mortara really has got the pace of the Audis, that's for sure. And as I mentioned just a few moments ago, some phenomenal overtaking maneuvers from Edo Mortara also. So it's Mercedes 1, 2, 3, 4, then it's Audi, split by a BMW as Nico Müller there and Antonio Felix da Costa get together, battling over P15 and P16. Nico Müller, who was very, very quick in free practice and qualifying at times. Whoa, that was a missed braking opportunity for Antonio Felix da Costa there, who very nearly ran into the back of Nico Müller. There's Molina. We see Lucas Auer and Mike Rockenfeller. Big save from da Costa then. Also running very wide there is Lucas Auer, who will lose out to Mike Rockenfeller. We go on board with Edoardo Mortara. A yellow flag in turn number 4. Just hear how as soon as Edoardo Mortara lights up the car, the back end steps out, constantly adjusting the brake bias. That's what the yellow lever does in the middle that you can see to the right of his steering wheel. Pushing hard and trying to find just where so there is Paul di Resta, who's certainly not got away from Gary Paffett in much the way that Robert Wickens has done, who is now 10.5 seconds up the road. Edoardo Mortara. It's Felix Rosenqvist in P9. And Edoardo Mortara's mistake there onto the grass. Managing to get back. He was really making some progress. He was very, very close to Scheider and probably could have attacked him were it not for that error. Well done, team, for getting that replay in so quickly. So, this is our race leader, Robert Wickens, who now is just 0.3 away from being 12 seconds up the road. Absolutely loving these conditions. And driving.
So gap to the car behind is 11.7. 11.7.
There you go, team radio confirming it. Not lying to you, just 0.3 off being 12 seconds. Just look at the way the man is able to handle this car. Paffett and Di Resta then. Paul Di Resta running in P2, Gary Paffett in P3. As we said, neither Robert nor Paul had too much trouble getting past Gary Paffett, but clearly Wickens has got the pace because just how far up the road he is compared to these two. And Maximilian Goertz is still resolutely there in P4 with Mattias Ekström not close enough to challenge him yet. Got about 18 minutes of the race left to run. So Wickens, Di Resta. Now that's why Paffett is much closer to Paul Di Resta than he was then. It was a error from Paul Di Resta. That was through turn 13. Locked the car up, turned the steering in. Thankfully, the runoff area there is sufficient where it didn't cause too much of a problem, but it meant that Gary Paffett was able to get back much closer to him than perhaps he would have done otherwise. Just a second between the two of them, as you can see. Robert Wickens has nailed the 3/10 he needed to make the margin now. 12 seconds. 12 seconds ahead in P1. Then it's Di Resta, Paffett, Goertz, Mattias Ekström, Martin. Then it's Scheider, Mortara, Green, and Felix Rosenqvist, who is running at the moment in the final points playing position. We're on board with Jamie Green, who's P9. Eduardo Mortara, a good way up the road ahead of him. Again, tiptoeing through the turns. So easy for the car just to snap and break away. Well, the setup and the pace that the Mercedes at the front have is such that Mattias Ekström is not able to get closer to Maximilian Goertz, so he's in this perfect protection position to ensure that Paffett, Di Resta and Wickens ahead of him are able to be up the road and be untroubled as Maxime Martin skates and slides his way through the turn. And Jamie Green on Felix Rosenqvist in replay. So outbraking going into turn number 13. Job done from Jamie Green. And we stay on board with the man that's running in P9, Jamie Green. And perhaps in his target sights now, Eduardo Mortara. Mortara has not been able to close on Timo Scheider quite as close as I thought he would have done, following that little off that Mortara had. That's just dented his confidence or changed the performance of the car just a little bit. The cars are so sensitive. Into the final 15 minutes of the race. And rather than Mattias Ekström chasing down Maximilian Goertz, Maxime Martin is getting a bit closer to Mattias Ekström now. There's Timo Scheider, who's running in P7. Timo Scheider, who missed out being here at the Moscow Raceway last year, following the Red Bull Ring incident. It was Antonio Giovinazzi that drove that car here at Moscow last year. Maxime Martin has won here in Moscow. Dearly love to do the same, but again this weekend, another race of course to come tomorrow, the longer race, where, as Verena mentioned to Jens Marquardt right at the start of the program,
9 or 5.
strategy. Strategy can play a part in the longer race because it includes the mandatory pit stop as well.
Copy.
Di Resta P2, Paffett P3, then it's Maximilian Goertz through the mire in P4 before we find Mattias Ekström, Maxime Martin and Timo Scheider there. just quietly, stealth-like, reeling Maxime Martin in a bit. And Edoardo Mortara getting his mojo back following his little off. He's certainly not as close to Timo Scheider as he once was. On board with Edoardo Mortara now, and you can see just how close Timo Scheider is to Maxime Martin through the windscreen of Edoardo Mortara, and Edo doing his level best to try and buy into that battle at the same time also. Absolute star Edoardo Mortara driving for the ABT Sportsline team. Onto the brakes, turns in. There is Mattias Ekström in P5. Martin was a tenth or so quicker than him last lap round. But still managing that gap between the two of them. Just see all the spray coming off the car ahead, making visibility absolutely awful for these drivers. Robert Wickens crosses the timing line just ahead in front of our commentary booth, and you can see just how far back the rest of the cars are, because it's only now that Paul di Resta crosses the timing line, some 10.8 seconds behind. Jamie Green then braked a little bit too late. That's lost him a bit of time. The pace that Jamie Green has, as you can see, he's left Felix Rosenqvist, who is currently occupying P10 ahead of Timo Glock. Super slow-mo of our race leader then, Robert Wickens, with the wiper going flat out on not only his car but that of Paul di Resta that's running P2, and the P3 car of Gary Pafford as he chucks the back end of that car out and power slides it through that turn. Super to watch, but not necessarily the quickest way, and having to do that just to control the back end of the car breaking away because of these awful weather conditions that the drivers are having to race in. Again, Jamie Green running wide in P9, chasing down Edoardo Mortara ahead of him, who is running in that P8 position. So Edoardo Mortara and Jamie Green having a real tussle in the points, because Jamie Green is P2 in the points, exactly 10 points ahead of Edoardo Mortara, but at the moment Mortara is ahead of Green in the race. There is the number 10 car of Timo Scheider running in P7. Let's get the live gap between himself and Edoardo Mortara. There's Ekström going through. Maxime Martin, and trying to dive out of the spray of Maximilian Goertz ahead is Mattias Ekström. So at 9:58, it's just under 10 minutes of the race to be done. And Mortara then sweeps past Timo Scheider. Like to see that again in replay. And now within the target sights perhaps of Edo Mortara will be Maxime Martin. Maximilian Goertz all of a sudden is under a bit of pressure now from Mattias Ekström. Eki is certainly closer to Goertz than has been for many a lap.
Attack Timo.
I'm already in front, I'm already ahead.
Green has also done Scheider. So continuing to follow Edoardo Mortara. So Edo now P7, Jamie Green P8, Timo Scheider P9, Felix Rosenqvist still holding Timo Glock at bay for P10.
Attack Edo last call. So Scheider then doing his best to help
Mortara and Green bank as many points as they possibly can. So there is Scheider, not making it difficult for Mortara to go past. And this is where he did it on the start-finish straight. And then turns in. And not many minutes afterwards,
Pascal behind.
Jamie Green around the outside.
Yeah, but he's not even close. Please, just if you want now, then I can try to do the contact.
Augusto Farfus, Nico Müller. They're running P13-14 before we see Bruno Spengler and Mike Rockenfeller. So De Resta, there's Paffett. And next should be Maximilian Goertz. Yes, indeed it is, but Matthias Ekström is close to him now, and it's Green on Mortara, and Green has won that little battle. So Eduardo Mortara now, we are on board with him. Breaking down through the gearbox as well. Jamie really running wide there. Left foot braking being deployed there by Eduardo Mortara. Completely different line to that of Jamie Green. Fascinating to watch. Just hear how the back end of the car lost adhesion, the revs increase. Christian Vitoris and Martin Tomczyk being told to change position. It's down there, P21 and P22. And this was Jamie Green then on Eduardo Mortara. Did it while sideways as well. So good to see that in replay. There you go, dials in the opposite lock, gets on the power, and is ahead of Eduardo Mortara. And seeing it from Mortara's viewpoint. So Green ahead of Mortara in the points, and therefore trying to make sure that Jamie Green banks as many points as possible in what has been a really very badly weather-affected race. Robert Wickens, P4 in the points, is just under 10 seconds up the road in the lead from Paul De Resta, who's P5 in the points. And well, Gary Paffett, you have to go a long way down the points chart before you find Gary, running in P10 in the points. But Matthias Ekström is still there, P5, and unable to find anything to take to the seemingly superior Maximilian Goertz Mercedes-Benz. And Maxime Martin, to be fair, has not really been able to take anything to Matthias Ekström. But what might happen now is that Jamie Green, before the end of this race, could well be on the back of Maxime Martin and go for that P6 place. And effectively, Matthias Ekström could help him achieve that by perhaps backing Martin into Jamie Green a bit. To be fair, Jamie has got the pace already to be able to reel him in. So we head towards turn number 13. Goes to the outside. Matthias Ekström much closer on the inside, but then suffers with the speed that he's able to carry on the exit of the turn. And that's where Maximilian Goertz is able to re-maintain the margin that he had previously. You see on the graphics on screen, Felix Rosenqvist is running in P10. If he makes his DTM debut in the points, then it will be a heck of an achievement for the young Formula 3 champion, who's the DTM seat for the rest of the season. We're on board with Jamie Green then. So he's trying to hunt down Maxime Martin. He's getting ever closer to the BMW ahead. Now, It's BMW versus Audi. No love lost there, clearly. So it's going to have to be a proper overtake for Jamie Green, who's going to have to try and find his way around that BMW. And there you can see with, what have we got? Just under 3.5 minutes of the race to be done. It's now or never for Jamie Green to try and elevate himself from P7 to P6 and haul in as many points as possible. He goes for the inside there, but loses too much speed.
3 laps to go. Jamie starts now to attack Martin. Jamie starts to attack Martin. After this lap, we have 3 laps to go. 3 laps to go.
So as we can hear from Ecky's team engineers, 3 laps to go. And Ecky just been advised that Jamie Green is attacking Maxime Martin behind him as well. That allows Ecky to get up the road a bit, because Maxime Martin will be thinking of defending against Jamie Green. Wickens is clear 10 seconds up the road in the lead, nothing to worry about there. Then it's Di Resta a clear 3.5 seconds ahead of Gary Paffett for P2 and P3. There is our race leader, though, Robert Wickens. Interestingly, last lap around, Gary Paffett was actually quicker than Robert Wickens. We are talking about 3/1000ths of a second. That's the only difference. There is our P2 driver, Paul Di Resta. Still very gingerly finding their way through some of the twistier sections of the circuit where grip levels are really, really reduced. We're on board with Gary Paffett. Or using the power to slide the car. And using the opposite lock to control that slide. So there's Robert Wickens, then a masterclass from him, how to drive in these atrocious conditions. And Jamie Green then.
2 more laps to go. Martin is busy with Jamie. Now concentrate on Maxi to close the gap.
Probably all a bit late for Matthias Ekström to try and get past Maximilian Gertz, but Jamie Green has got that BMW in his target sights now. Turns into the start-finish straight. We're on board with him now. Jamie Green currently running in P7, so desperately wants to try and wrestle P6 away from the BMW ahead of Maxime Martin. Got this lap and one more to do so. Can he do it? He would bank as many points as is possible. Maximilian Gertz still ahead of Matthias Ekström. Then it is Maxime Martin who's running in P6, and that's the place that Jamie Green so desperately wants. So the full 24-car order on the left-hand side of your screen, and now Jamie Green really throwing absolutely everything at the Audi to try and just find something to get right on the back of Maxime Martin. And Jamie's a really, really good overtaker. So just saying that, Maxime's a jolly good defender if he needs to be as well. There's Robert Wickens then. Just under 11 seconds to the good. Turn number 13. It's the final turn on this 3.9 kilometer circuit. And he starts the final lap of race 1 here at the Moscow Raceway. Robert Wickens then, who, tempted to say managed to get past Gary Paffett right at the start of the race. Well, manage is not really quite the right word. The race started behind the safety car. There is Gary Paffett, who's gone from pole position to P3, but it'll be a fantastic podium for Mercedes-Benz if it stays this way. And I really cannot see it changing. Green then, not been able to do enough to find a way past Maxime Martin. far, far better off banking the points that he will get for P7 and binning the car and losing any hope of points in trying to wrestle his way past Maxime Martin for P6. A sensible, mature drive. But it has been an absolute wet weather driving masterclass from this man, Robert Wickens, in the number 6 HWA Mercedes-Benz. On board with Gary Paffett in P3. And Paul di Resta, who is P2. Some 3 seconds up the road from Gary Paffett, but some 10 seconds behind this man, Robert Wickens, who is on for his 2nd win of the season as the checkered flag is unfurled and waved now for Robert Wickens to take the win. So what a great job from Robert Wickens. Here comes Paul di Resta to take P2. First P2 of the season, and Gary Paffett back on the podium again for P3. And Uli Fritz is one satisfied manufacturer head, because Mercedes-Benz 1, 2, 3, 4, because Maximilian Goertz takes P4. It'll be Matthias Ekström that takes P5, Maxime Martin 6, Green P7, Mortara P8, Timo Scheider P9, and Felix Rosenqvist on his debut, DTM debut for Mercedes-Benz, is in the points for P10. What a wet weather afternoon, but what a good afternoon for the manufacturer Mercedes-Benz. Marleen Weiland there, you can see being embraced. And I should think Uli Fritz is about ready to embrace Verena.
Probably. Uli Fritz, congratulations. A 4-time victory. That really is fantastic. And your maximum points for your 2 contenders. Is that for you the perfect strategy?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was perfect today. Robert had an incredible pace, especially in the beginning of the race. And I think in the end, he just controlled it. So, yeah, it was really a perfect afternoon for us, for the whole team. And I'm also happy for Felix. I mean, his first DTM race in such different conditions. And he's got his first point and in his first DTM race. So really happy about the whole race. And and now we have to focus for tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much, Uli Fritz. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you very much, Verena, and a very good point made by Uli Fritz. Felix taking his point in his maiden DTM start. Paul di Resta then P2, and Robert Wickens P1. What a weekend start for Mercedes-Benz, as we see there, Robert Wickens once again taking that checkered flag. Another victory for him, having taken a victory, of course, at Zandvoort as well, and feeling his good work was undone in the second race at Zandvoort, as you saw right at the start of this program when the puncture forces out. Here's confirmation of the result then. Robert Wickens, Paul di Resta, Gary Paffett, Maximilian Goertz. 4 strong Mercedes-Benz places there. Matthias Ekström, Maxime Martin, then Jamie Green, Eduardo Mortara. Timo Scheider and Felix Rosenqvist then takes P10 and therefore a point in his DTM debut. And there is the car parked up. Well, Uli Fritz mentioned that he had incredible pace, incredible nerve as well to drive that car so very well. Points to the Mercedes-Benz logo, and is congratulated by Paul di Resta, and he'll be congratulated by Gary Paffett as well. A fantastic result for them. So drivers off into that carriage now to be weighed. And the podium ceremony to come, of course. Di Resta is first onto the scales. And credit, it has to be said to all of the drivers when you consider just how awful the conditions were, for them to be able to deliver a race without horrific incident. Credit to them all. So there's the face of the race winner, Robert Wickens. And some super slow-mos of the race-winning car then. Any given DTM race weekend this year, 2 races, so the longer race to come tomorrow where strategy can play more of a part in that man and the other team managers' strategies. And there, jumping out of the car, Robert Wickens, and straight away over to congratulate him is Paul di Resta. And in the Drivers' Championship now then, Robert Wickens on 108 points, a 3-point lead over Marco Wittmann. And it's Jamie Green, 1 point behind Marco Wittmann for P3, and Eduardo Mortara not far behind either. And then Paul di Resta on the P5 position on the points chart. It's all going to be fantastic as we round out the 2016 season of DTM. Still a lot of racing to come though, because we'll be going to Nürburgring and Budapest and also Hockenheim for the season finale as well. And that's the driver weighing queue at the moment. See Marco Wittmann and Antonio Felix da Costa to the very left of your picture there, making their way out. And there is our race winner being congratulated by various members of the team. And will be ushered off to the podium pretty quickly. Jamie Green and Timo Scheider there, and Mike Rockefeller just to the back of your picture. The 3 Audi drivers. So interesting how these, how the season is developing, and so many different winners and so many cars strong on certain days. And Robert Wickens doing the whole line of engineers. Gary Paffett, well, I'm sure he's happy with P3, and he's with Verena now.
Well, Gary, first of all, tough race. Congratulations to a 3rd place. But obviously, starting in pole, you could have, been way more up in the front. How do you feel, since you race at heart? How do you feel about the strategy?
To be honest, we're all part of a team, and we have a goal in the team. And we had a incredible qualifying. I did the job in qualifying. And the speed is obviously there. And in the race, ended up getting a podium. I mean, for the days about Mercedes-Benz, to be honest, we had a 1, 2, 3, 4. The car's been incredible, and the team really deserved this. Robert had good pace today, 2nd on the grid, won the race, and now he's, got a good shot at the championship. So.
True sportsman. Thank you very much, Gary. And back to you, Dave.
Well, Verena, can't you see why he's such a good ambassador for Mercedes-Benz? Well done, Gary Paffett. He takes P3 and will be up on the podium. As he said, the day is all about Mercedes-Benz. P1, P2, P3 and P4. Robert Wickens continuing then with his round of handshakes, and congratulations to those that make it happen, because behind every driver there is, of course, a huge team at work. Matthias Ekstrom, thoughtful look as he takes P5, and Tom Blomqvist, as he walks towards our camera, P22. So drivers being ushered up to the podium, which you can see center screen there is Dieter Gas and Uli Fritz from Audi. Robert Wickens then is back in the lead of the championship and is race winner at Moscow.
Yes, Robert certainly is back, still talking here to Gary. But Robert, sorry to interrupt, just quickly, congratulations to a very fantastic race. You're back in the lead, 108 points. That means 3 points ahead of Marco Wittmann. You've got to be thrilled.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, first off, what a team effort by all Mercedes. I mean, to own the whole podium, it doesn't happen very often, so we have to celebrate it tonight, because tomorrow's going to be hard work.
So enjoy the moment. Thank you so much. Back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Verena. Well done. Robert Wickens then, as he says, another one that's telling it the way it is. It's a huge success story for Mercedes-Benz. Not so often that you see only one manufacturer dominate the podium in DTM, because it is all so close between them. And he said it's going to be difficult tomorrow. In the Drivers' Championship, let's just repeat the points order. It's 108 points for Robert Wickens. That's 3 ahead of Marco Wittmann for BMW, and then Jamie Green for Audi on 104. So still very, very tight at the top there. And as Robert was saying, it's going to be difficult tomorrow. It's a completely different race in that it's the much longer race, plus the mandatory pit stop as well. So strategies can play a part in it, and it allows some very clever strategic decisions to be made on behalf of the team to advantage their drivers. So and we hope, of course, that the weather conditions will be somewhat different tomorrow to those that we've encountered today for race number 1. Certainly, if I'd been a betting man at the end of qualifying, I'd have said that it's going to dry out, and even maybe midway through the race, you might have slick weather tyres. That wasn't the case. Paul di Resta, he made good of the wet weather conditions and took P2.
So Paul, congratulations, fantastic race. Congratulations to a second place, part of the huge success story of Mercedes today. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think a little bit relieved. Zandvoort was a pretty tough weekend following Lausitzring, but I think we identified the problem. So even in the dry, yesterday was very strong. Confident for tomorrow if the weather changes, but good handful of points. I think qualifying was key to that. And we obviously were the first car in slick, so it was close. But to go away with that, I think we'll be very happy. And I think when I saw the rain this morning, I was a little bit disappointed given the car's performance in the dry. But yeah, into tomorrow, and hopefully some of the same stuff again.
Now you're also 92 points. That means you're the 4th in the championship leadership altogether, and there's 7 more races to go. So anything is possible there as well.
It is. It just shows you how unfortunate when you have a result like Zandvoort, and you know not grabbing the points. But we're in this. We're in the mix. And like I said to the boys, we've come here with a car that we can challenge, following Lausitzring, Hockenheim early in the year. And yeah, sleep well tonight and get on with the job tomorrow, but looking good.
Enjoy the champagne on the podium. Dave?
Thanks very much, Verena. Just saw Hermann Tilke just to the back of Paul di Resta there, designer of this circuit here at Moscow. And Robert Wickens then with a big thumbs up as he looks skyward. So podium about to get underway. It will be Sergei Bednaruk then, the famed Russian commentator that will be, I suspect, ahead and in charge of the podium presentations. Certainly loud and proud, that's for sure. So there is Robert. He'll take the top step of the podium. Paul di Resta on P2. And Gary Paffett on the 3rd step. That all Mercedes-Benz podium lockout. So national anthem to play out for Robert Wickens. So then the national anthem plays out, and Robert Wickens celebrates on the top step of the podium. And what a trophy that is. Wow. And he holds it aloft. Robert Wickens, race winner, Moscow Raceway. So Kim Yong-woo then, the General Director of Hankook Tire Russia, making the trophy presentation. So Herman Tilke then makes the second place trophy presentation to Paul de Resta. And Rustem Turugulov, the promoter here, the Moscow Raceway project, and Gary Pavitt holds his aloft as well. So they all get together for the photographs. Uli Fritz, happy man. Loads of applause, loads of noise. Everyone enthusiastic here. Robert says, I'll spray it in a minute. I need a slug, first of all. Absolutely fascinating chap. You might need a new shirt tomorrow, chap. Fascinating look to the championship now, that's for sure. Bodes very well and exciting for tomorrow's race. And of course, for the remainder of the season also. So towels are definitely handed out. And there is Christian Vitoris and Maximilian Goertz. You can just see there. Maximilian Goertz certainly looking a lot happier than Christian Vitoris, who of course finished P23. So it wasn't all strong for Mercedes-Benz, but it was certainly strong for that man, Robert Wickens, who's pretty chuffed with that trophy. So there we have it then, race 1 done, race 2. Tomorrow going to be altogether different. Here's Verena.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, what a fantastic race here in Moscow. And we're certainly looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at the second race here in Moscow. Till then, take care. And here are the highlights of the day. Enjoy.